Welcome back everybody to the BD1P Binding of Isaac modded series. Today is going to be a vitiated Isaac run for win number 1 and episode number 326. You might be asking yourself, BD1P, what the heck does the word vitiate mean? I don't know. I'm not very well-spoken that much anymore, but it's another spin on the kind of like, what if tainted characters had their own tainted variants as well? Seed, by the way, is going to be KR6VJPSX, and this is Vitiated Isaac. Now, I didn't want to read or look too much into what the character or the special item in our bottom right corner does, but I think I have a small idea, just so I'm not like super lost in the duration of this run here. Reshape, I believe, allows you to re-roll or turn one of the items you have in your collection into a different item or into like a bunch of keys, bombs, and coins and things like that. You can only use it when you have a max of whatever your item capacity is. I think it's like only 6 items as this character, but normal Tainted Isaac has 8. It's going to take a little bit, well, that's the wrong button right there, a little bit of getting used to, because, again, it's a brand new character, brand new item. Oh, the button's right here. No, that's not the button. Up there? Am I blind? There's a key behind one of these pillars. Oh, that was a really hidden button. Okay. Well, we can get Haunted Rose. Taking damage may spawn souls. Bombs may be ghost bombs, and Eternal Hearts spawn in pairs of 2. But if I use Reshape now, nothing happens. So I'm assuming it can only be used when you either have an item on a pedestal in front of you, or when you have like a max capacity inventory. But I wanted to talk about today. I saw a movie in theaters. It wasn't one that I was like particularly excited to see, but ended up being like more of a fun time than I thought it could have ended up being. There's not a lot of good movies coming out right now, in my opinion at least. I haven't really seen a lot that have really interested me. Barbarian was kind of the last one that I really wanted to see in theaters, and ended up seeing in theaters too, which was a fantastic movie. But there was one that I think stood above the rest as being a very mixed bag. Like one that could have ended up being the quality of a movie like Morbius, or could have ended up just being like very forgettable. And it ended up not being either of those two choices, and ended up actually being like a surprisingly fun and creative, I wouldn't say creative, but a surprisingly fun and engaging movie. And that's Black Adam. I didn't think I was going to like this movie a lot. I'm not a big, you know, cape head, I would say. I'm not a big into superhero movies that much. But I went into the theater thinking this is going to be really bad. And, like, I was expecting to just to laugh, you know, cringe-wise the entirety of the film. But once it started, the first 20 minutes were horseshit. They were really bad. Like, it's confusing, the overdub goes by really fast, the visual effects aren't that good. The first 20 minutes is like, it's the worst intro to a film I've seen in a while. It genuinely was like, we can't think of any creative way to show this person's backstory, so we're just gonna like narrate it to you for about 5 minutes straight, and hope you understand what we're talking about. It wasn't very good. Then there's like a big shift in the movie's quality, where you're still kind of like, okay, it's a little bit weird and a little bit, you know, out of place, but I can kind of see where the appeal could be. And then you meet a character. This is spoiler free. I'm not going to give any Black Adams. You can't really spoil the movie. It's the trailer gives away every single twist, I would say. But you meet a character who I forget the actor's name so often. But they were on The Walking Dead, they were in Black Mirror, they were in Out of Compton, they were in a lot of really good stuff. But he plays Hawkman in the movie. And he is so great. Like, I don't know why he hasn't gotten any more breakout roles like this one, because he is genuinely, I wasn't looking at the screen, he was genuinely a very captivating, like, actor. Every second that Hawkman was on screen, I was either, you know, laughing or smiling, just having a great time. He's a very endearing actor, I would say. But you meet Hawkman, and you go, okay, the movie's not going to be all bad because there's at least some kind of redeeming character. Then there's a cameo from Henry Winkler. I wouldn't say a cameo because he's not like any special DC character, but a personal favorite actor of mine, Henry Winkler, who came out of nowhere as like someone's uncle. And no one in the theater had a reaction, but I was like, what the fuck is Henry Winkler doing in a DC superhero movie? It was a little bit confusing, I'll tell you that much. We'll just move on down here. Yeah, cannot reshape right now either way. Just really, really out of left field, but then you meet the actor who plays Kent Nelson, or Dr. Fate. And he as well was really, really good. And throughout the movie, Hawkman and Dr. Fate are kind of shown to have this like prior friendship. They're really good friends. They've worked together in the past, and they understand each other. I'm playing so terribly right now. And I gotta say, the best part about the movie, hands down, is the relationship between Dr. Fate and Hawkman. They're two great actors, and playing two, I would almost say, like, roles that were made for them. The actor for Kent Nelson looks nearly identical to the depictions I've seen of Dr. Fate and like Young Justice and the Justice League show and all that kind of stuff. So number one, visually they're very, very similar to their characters, and number two, they play the roles really well. But the way they kind of have this like chemistry on screen, it makes you think the actors are like best friends in real life. They truly do sell it to a high degree. But then those, like the whole, Justice League or Justice Society meets Black Adam at first. And yeah, The Rock's not the greatest actor. We can all agree on that. He's fine. Can we reshape this? Okay, so you can reshape pedestals. I don't know what that does for us. Yeah, I don't know what that's gonna do for us. I have a feeling we have it like in our jar, and if we get another item, we can kind of like combine them to make a higher quality drop. I have no clue. We're gonna figure it out along the way. I don't want to know too much going into the character, but The Rock's not the greatest actor, and despite Mr. Dwayne, Mr. The Rock, petitioning to get this movie made for the better part of a decade now, like trying to barter with DC forever, he really never comes across as like the star of the film. He's a very underwhelming, I think, presence on screen. Like, in every movie that I've seen him in, he's always very stone-faced and stoic, and it doesn't lead to a lot of like emotional connection with his characters. Now, to be fair, like, that's kind of what Black Adam is a bit of like a he's an anti-hero. As all the reviews would put it, we finally have an evil superhero. He plays that part fine, I guess, but for being the lead in the movie, like, he's only unintentionally funny. Because there are some great jokes in this movie, by the way. Like, there were some times where I was like actually laughing, and I don't think that superhero movies, even the comics, I don't think comics are all that funny either. It all kind of just like boils down to like, OMG, Batman just said that. It's like, it's always the worst and most annoying humor of all time. It's like, like, the punchline of every single Batman joke is like Batman being like, it's 'cause I'm Batman, and everyone's like, OMG, he's so savage for this. When in actuality, I took a whole heart of damage from what though? In actuality, I really don't think that superhero stuff, I didn't mean to do that, but whatever. My cat's clawing at my back, can you knock it off? Now my green screen's going all crazy. This cat is driving me nuts, man. But I never found him that funny, or any comic book stuff that funny, but whenever he does try to make a joke or something happens, like where it's an awkward camera angle or anything like that, it is entertaining. The movie is at every single point, at the very least, unintentionally entertaining. What do I want to do here? Okay, you know what? Give me a second. Sorry about that. My cat was tearing up my apartment, so I kind of had to put her in the bedroom for a bit, but the movie is always, at least at the very, very least, unintentionally entertaining. There's a lot of awkward camera angles, a lot of like weird facial expressions from The Rock. He does that patented Dwayne The Rock Johnson smirk, like a little bit too much, I would say, in the movie, but you're at least having fun watching it. Which I cannot really say the same for a lot of, okay, great, this is awesome, for a lot of comic book stuff. I find myself getting bored watching your average DC or Marvel movie, because they're always so cookie cutter. There's never like anything, I'm playing like trash, genuinely interesting going on in those movies, besides like, oh my god, cosmic threat number 13 is attacking the planet. We have to do X to stop it. It's just, I don't know, it's formulaic. Black Adam at least takes a different approach in the very slightest of ways, where you spend equal time trying to sympathize with the villain as you do with like the group of heroes. So that was at least like somewhat of an interesting trope to take into account, but the movie does do a lot of things wrong. I'm not gonna just praise Black Adam, because it isn't perfection. It's like a 6 out of 10. It's not the best I've seen, not the worst I've seen. That's for sure. Oh my god, what do you do? How do you beat half of these rooms, man? I've only got like 3 items right now, and I've seen 0 Eternal Hearts. This is so sad. What's alive? Oh, you're alive? Okay, get out of here. There's more? Curse of Darkness is really freaking me up in this room right now, man. I'll admit I'm not playing the best today, but this was a very confusing room to walk into. I'd never seen those, like, transparent blue enemies before in my entire life. But it does do a lot of things wrong, too, I would say. Maybe even more wrong than right, but the right stuff does, I think, you know, win in the end. The first thing is I don't really do a really good job introducing who the side characters are when it comes to the heroes, because you have no reason to believe that Dr. Fate is any different than Doctor Strange, or Atom Smasher isn't just Ant-Man. You know, you don't really have a reason to believe these are unique characters, and I think that's why a lot of the critics have rated the movie so low, is because it seems like they're taking little bits and pieces of what Marvel's done and just trying to adapt that cheaply, which, to be fair, they do try and do. Like, Marvel is very successful, and I think that trying to mimic that isn't necessarily a terrible thing. But the characters that they introduce in the movie are very, very different in terms of like who they are than their Marvel counterparts, but they really only tend to show the stuff that Marvel's already done. For example, Dr. Fate is not just like a magician. He is like the Lord of Order. He is very, very powerful and is pretty much omnipotent to some degree. Whereas, and that transpires in a lot of the movies and shows as well. Young Justice, I think, is probably the most famous, like, appearance of Dr. Fate in any media, just because, well, before Black Adam, I guess, but he's very, very strong, and he's not really seen as like a human you can barter with. He's more of like someone who sticks by his morals and is only there to like protect the order and do nothing more, nothing less. And the way they portray him in this movie is that he is more Kent Nelson, more of like a human than he is like a Lord of Order. He's just a sorcerer. Like in multiple points in this movie, and I guess it's like a minor spoiler, but not really. Kent Nelson takes off his helmet, which is not really something that Dr. Fate does. Like, when the helmet gets put on, it's not Kent Nelson doing anything. It's Dr. Fate. It's the personification of order. But in this movie, it's always Kent Nelson. It's always Kent Nelson. I'm gonna go for a key. Y'all, I'm so lucky. And that much really doesn't give you a lot of room to think, oh, I wonder if, like, this is just DC's Doctor Strange. With a character like, you know, Atom Smasher. He is similar in a capacity, I would say, to Ant-Man, but he has a lot of his own stuff. I'm not very familiar with the character too much, but I know enough to be like, he's not just a guy who shrinks and goes big. He can do other things. It also isn't even the first iteration of the character. You know, that's why his Uncle Al was in the movie, Henry Winkler, as kind of like his mentor for a quick, like, 3-second clip. But nonetheless, critically, there was nothing setting this movie apart from, you know, your average cast of cliche Marvel and DC characters. They don't do enough to show you these guys are different. It's just another trope being done over and over again. And I get why that would lower a lot of critical scores. And if the movie would have done a better job of showing, you know, how these characters can differ and, you know, how much more unique they can be, I personally think it would have, I think, gone better overall with critics. Again, I'm not saying it deserves to have a higher score, because let's be honest, it's not the pinnacle of anything, but movie could have definitely benefited from giving the characters a bit more of a unique premise. But aside from that, like, the only issue I had with the movie on like an actor or like a story level was just The Rock. I mean, I really, really wish... You can tell The Rock had influence on the story. because The Rock loves the Black Adam character. He thinks Black Adam is the most powerful character to ever be written. And at multiple points in the movie, they make a point to, like, almost directly look at the camera and tell you, man, he's too strong for anybody to take out. They repeat that phrase at multiple points because The Rock wants you to know that Black Adam, you shouldn't fuck around with this guy. He's too powerful. When, in actuality, I really don't think it would be much of a contest for Dr. Fate to take down Black Adam. Dr. Fate, again, is like on a whole different level than him, at least from what I've seen in my experience with the comic books. But it's just very strange to me how much they want to hammer in this idea that, you know, Black Adam is the new strongest character in DC. He kept making the statement during marketing, like the hierarchy power in the DC universe is about to change with Black Adam releasing, when it's like, I don't know if that's true, man. Like, I think you just really like the character, and that's fine. You're welcome to like whatever character you want, but you shouldn't let you thinking this character is so strong have a bearing on the movie. Because it was very weird to keep seeing characters be like, man, he's too strong for any of us, when they weren't really giving it their all, or even like trying to give it their all in the slightest. They were just kind of goofing around. They were untrained. I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a bit of a silly detail, and that they kept shoving that down your throat the entire movie. But I think if The Rock wouldn't have been so set on just showing how strong Black Adam is, and instead of like would have let the movie kind of take form a bit more and let the, I guess, character conflicts have a more of a front seat, that would have been better. Because at certain points, there's like 3 or 4 montages in the movie that are just like Black Adam killing dudes, and that's cool. But at a certain point, I get that he kills people. He's evil. Oh no, he's so drastically goofy. I guess goofy is not the right word, but you get what I'm trying to say there. I just wish there would have been more of an emphasis on, you know, Black Adam's internal struggle of, like, you know, wanting to be a hero, but, you know, not knowing how to control himself necessarily to get to that point. Would have led to more endearing characters along the way. But for what we got, I'm not too upset. For what we got, I think the CGI was really, really impressive. I think it was a very good-looking movie. I think, like, the editing itself wasn't good. There's a lot of jump cuts. Like, I think at one point there were, like, 20 cuts in the span of, like, 30 seconds between characters, which is just ugly to look at. But we're talking, like, pure, like, the CGI and color. I think the movie looked pretty good. I really liked Dr. Fate's outfit and suit. I know it was mostly CGI, but it didn't feel like, whereas a lot of blockbuster CGI is just trying to make the thing look as realistic as possible. You know, all these bootstraps and buckles on these characters' outfits. I like that DC keeps it simple, even though you can tell it's not real to a certain extent. I like that it has some character to it. I like that the suit, you know, it may look CGI, but it also looks a bit comic booky. It has a lot of color to it, and it's still simple. I really admired that about the DC universe, besides, you know, the Justice League, because holy shit is that Flash suit ugly as hell. But I think it's really cool to see this kind of, like, it takes the appearance of those tight latex suits from the comics that would obviously look pretty goofy in real life, and adapts those to look a little bit goofy, but still pretty cool. And I really like that a lot, and I wish that we get more stuff like that. I'm tired of, like, you know, take character suit, give it a bunch of breast pockets and buckles around the arms and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's not for me. But I think this movie was genuinely a really good step for the DC universe. I just think they should start over and just, like, clean slate. I think they might be trying to clean slate everything. There was rumor of Ben Affleck's Batman coming back soon. There was rumor of the Robert Pattinson, the Batman movie, being part of the extended universe, which I hope to God it's not. Keep the Batman franchise away from the DCEU as far as possible, please. That is, like, that's an actual good movie that I think is only has one flaw of being a little bit too long. I don't want that mixed in with, like, The Rock smirking every 40 seconds. Keep that as far away as possible. But I think if DC just decided to start over, yeah, they'd be putting a lot of their older projects back in the bin, but I think in the long run it would work out. They have James Gunn fronting for them now, and they have a lot of talented actors, you know, dedicating themselves to these roles. Henry Cavill is reportedly returning back as Superman, which is really good. I like Henry Cavill a lot, and I think if they just would have given him a better script and a better character to play, he would have been an amazing Superman. But I'm just really hoping that, you know, DC has learned, and with James Gunn now co-owning or co-running DC, we can hopefully get some better projects down the road. So I don't even know what reshaping does. I'm actually really confused about that. I guess we'll see in the future. Maybe it stores items, so if you lose one, it'll refill after that point. That could be a cool idea, actually. We can go look for an item room as well. I don't see why not at this point in the run, but I don't know. I think Black Adam was good. I think I had a lot of fun watching it. It's in the same vein as Multiverse of Madness was for me, where the movie, we'll talk about Multiverse right now, that movie is not good, but it's brave enough to stand out and to give you really fresh ideas. And although the script was really, really bad, and the story was pretty bad too, like the visual effects, the creative fights, I mean, it felt like it was fresh, and that's why I liked the movie so much, I think. Multiverse of Madness was my favorite in-theater Marvel experience. It's kind of a burning hot take to an extent, but the way I think about it is I'd rather watch something that's unique and falls short than watch something play it safe. It's the reason why Temple of Doom was my favorite Indiana Jones film. Yes, Crusade and Raiders of the Lost Ark are, you know, those are like incredible movies. Those are flawless action comedies right there. I would hedge my bet on Indiana Jones, the original trilogy, those three being my favorite film franchise ever. I mean, those movies are what you should strive to do when making an action comedy. But Temple of Doom was always kind of like the weird one out. It was always a little bit strange. Like, oh, you know, it's not relating to Christianity. There's three main characters. There's, you know, it's a very contained plot. And it makes a lot of weird turns with, like, slavery and a child sidekick and all this kind of culty stuff. Very, very dark to a certain extent, too. But I always respected it. Because even though it did fall short a little bit, like in certain departments, especially I think I liked Spielberg's wife in the movie as a character, but she was a little bit, you know, screechy at times, that it was not that fun to watch. But I enjoyed it so much because it took a lot of risks, and it definitely tried to be different enough. As opposed to The Last Crusade, while it is, you know, the better movie, it played it safe, going back to Christianity, going back to, you know, a more indie-focused story. Yes, it was good, but it didn't really fully satisfy, you know, my lust for a new Indiana Jones adventure. Crusade is probably the best. Well, I would say Crusade is the best film in the trilogy. I think Raiders is up there too, but I mean, Sean Connery as Indy's dad, I mean, that's a priceless interaction there. Their on-set chemistry was amazing, but you know, I've always respected Temple of Doom for stepping out of the comfort zone, and I think that's kind of why I liked Multiverse so much, is it wasn't as formulaic. I mean, it still had a little bit of that formula, you know, to it, but it decided to branch out when it didn't necessarily need to, and it made for some fun moments. I think that the best moment in all of Marvel history in the movies is Doctor Strange possessing his dead self to go haunt with, like, the other ghouls. That was amazing. I was watching the movie actually with one of my stream and Discord mods, and also Desi, and then my mod's girlfriend as well. And holy shit, like, I remember just sitting there being like, wow. I mean, I didn't expect a Marvel movie to go this hard. It was great. And Black Adam's kind of like that too, where it's not, you know, super breaking the mold, but it does enough different where it keeps me entertained the entire time, and I'm not constantly calling the plot twist. There is actually a sizable plot twist in the movie that doesn't really have a big bearing on, like, what you're watching, but I'm like, oh, I didn't see it coming. That's very interesting. And you look back, and you know what? That does make a lot of sense, actually. Between those past two character interactions, I can see this actually being a true thing. That's interesting. It doesn't really have a big bearing on the plot, but it still surprised me. And I'll be damned, man. Besides Multiverse and besides Black Adam, I don't think I've ever been surprised watching a comic book movie before. The Batman had some nice surprises, but that one also kind of, it wasn't predictable, but it also wasn't, you know, mind-blowingly, like, you know, who is this, or what, you know, what's this person doing kind of deal. But it's been a very interesting time for comic book media. It's been, I think we're hitting a new age, and I don't want to say it's like, you know, every single movie coming out is going to be this good, but I think we finally hit a stride where studios are realizing that the weird, goofy stuff has just as much pull as the, you know, like, Phase 1 Marvel stuff. I think they're realizing that now, and I think that because of them realizing that, we're getting a lot more unique projects. Now, that being said, you know, Thor Love and Thunder was god-awful. Moon Knight was also pretty bad, in my opinion. She-Hulk was terrible. There's still balls being dropped in a lot of departments. More than I'd like to admit, actually. But from what we're getting with the big-name blockbusters, I am actually cautiously optimistic that we've strolled away from, like, the, well, that happened kind of humor. Now, one movie I will say that I know is going to end up being absolute horseshit is Shazam 2. I liked Shazam 1, I thought it was pretty good, but the trailers for Shazam 2, holy shit, they look awful. If you think Black Adam's trailers looked bad, Shazam 2's look like someone took it into a dumpster, covered it in gasoline and vinegar, lit it on fire, and threw it into an orphanage. It looks that bad. There's a line in the trailer for Shazam 2 where Shazam goes, "I just threw a truck at a dragon. I love my life." I'd argue that kind of, like, you know, line is worse than the "well, that just happened," or the "he's right behind me" stuff. And I want to defend that movie so bad, because Shazam 1 was also pretty fun. But I can't look at that as anything but an affront to God. I mean, it just it looks so bad. Oh, I will probably end up... I gotta sneeze, hold on. Let's use in the comments, please. Oh, another one? No, we're good, we're good. But I will most likely end up seeing that in theaters. Because I like to go see movies that I'm sure are gonna be not very great in theaters. I just like going to the movies for fun. But, it doesn't look very good. And I know it's gonna suck major balls. But... one bump in the road, we can handle that. We can handle that. It maybe won't be bad. I guess I was surprised by Black Adam's qualities. Maybe Shazam 2 has some surprises for me. I guess we gotta wait and see. We have the Flash movie coming out, which, you know, I really... So what does this do? Oh, I'm picking up more items. I wonder if you have a higher inventory as this character or not, or if I've maybe broken the character somehow. Cause I know this is the demo of a mod, by the way, or it's like the beta, I would say. So we might be finding some occasional bugs that we're not aware of, but we'll figure out as we go along here. But I don't know. Like, I don't want to go see the Flash movie, because Ezra Miller is an awful human being and deserves to be in jail for a very, very long time. And it sucks because The Flash is one of my favorite heroes, and Flashpoint is one of my favorite storylines, like, in a comic ever. And to have it, you know, now be tainted by Ezra being Ezra, it just sucks, man. Because, like, I was excited to see Thomas Wayne's Batman. I was excited to see... less so, but still kind of intrigued by the Flash family kind of being in there. I don't know. There were some ideas that I thought would be really cool to see. But now I'm like, it's a double-edged sword, right? Where Ezra's already been paid for the movie, right? Like, he's already gotten a majority of his money for appearing in the movie as part of, like, his contractual deal. The people who haven't gotten paid yet are the visual effects artists, the directors, the, you know, whatever it may be. So by not seeing the movie, yes, you are hurting Ezra Miller's career, which is a very good thing. His career deserves to be hurt very badly. But you're also, I think, even more so hurting people who worked on the movie tirelessly and had to deal with Ezra's bullshit constantly. and I might just be trying to validate my reason for wanting to go see the movie in theaters, but to an extent, I do believe that if the director is not the issue with the movie, you're really only hurting the little guys by not going to see it. Because Ezra's going to get the movie made, he's going to get his bill from Universal, and yes, he gets royalties for the movie being sold, but the director makes a lot of the money for the cuts being sold as well. So it's very much like a... It's just hard to say if I really do want to go see that in theaters or not. And I think when it comes down to it, unless I get persuaded, like, if you see the movie, Ezra Miller is going to kill a child, like, then I won't go see it. But if he's already getting paid for it, there's not a huge harm. I mean, I think about it this way too. Like, I still listen to Michael Jackson and David Bowie. They don't get any money for their music anymore, but I'm guessing that not playing it would help the relevancy fade and maybe make the victims or descendants of the victims' lives a bit easier as well. So, like, if I'm gonna hold myself to the merit of not see movie because actor is bad, then I gotta also not listen to music where the musician is bad. It's really, really hard to say. Now, there's a difference between seeing the Flash movie in theaters, I think, and then seeing Amsterdam. Whereas Amsterdam's story is a whole different deal. It's got a really weirdly stacked cast, but none of the cast really works well together. And the big thing is the director is an even worse person than Ezra Miller, I would say. The director of Amsterdam assaulted his niece, who I think was like either 8 years old or 12 years old, got blackballed from the industry, then came back with this movie called Amsterdam with Taylor Swift. Who else is in that movie? I know, is Anya Taylor-Joy in there? Rami Malek is in it, I think. Like, he tried to get this huge stacked cast together, and the movie was one of the worst opening nights of this year so far. So do I get to... I don't really want an active item. I kind of want to keep Red Candle. So we'll try and roll that. Now, with that kind of movie... What the heck? Oh, it's another active item there. With that movie, the director is so bad of a person, and he's going to make a majority of the money for the movie being sold, that it makes sense to not go see it, or support it, or give it any kind of notoriety. I feel like when you're going to see a movie about a superhero, it's less about the actor playing it, and more about the hero itself. You're not, like, boosting Ezra Miller's image by going to see Flash. He's always going to be tainted by that. Director trying to cover up the assault of his niece is pretty crazy, and I think warrants a definite don't go see that movie. I think it's even crazier that, like, people wanted to work with him. I mean, how do you know that happened and say, yeah, I'll star in your movie? Like, how does that happen? I mean, if I was Warner Brothers, I would have just scrapped the Flash movie. I think it's a lost cause at this point. But it's going to be a disaster that I really do want to witness the follow-up to. But with like, how do you want to star in a movie like that? How do you want to sign on to an actor like that? Just the paycheck? I mean, it's crazy to me because someone like Taylor Swift, who is not an actress, she is a singer-songwriter, who has this image I gotta kill the healing guy, what am I doing? Who has this image of being like a very, you know, progressive and very friendly and personal person. How does she do this and still have fans defending her all the way to the death? Her new album was like very mediocre as well. I mean, I don't know how she's still got cultural relevancy at this point. Folklore and Evermore were fine albums, I will say. They were okay. I liked them, but new one's bad, and I don't know, man. It's a little bit of a... It's a very mixed bag of culture, I would say, for sure. But, hey, you know, what am I to say? I played video games for a living here. TLDR Black Adam was fun. I recommend you go see it if you like dumb cape shit. Multiverse of Madness was not as bad as everybody says. It actually had a lot of unique ideas. It wasn't a great movie, but it at least was, again, fun to watch, and those movies are supposed to be fun to watch. So I'm glad to see the industry taking a new reform to it all. Let's take the negative this run. Let's pop down the world's card. Let's go to our crawl space and see what's waiting for us down here. It looks like, wow, jack shit. I don't know what the point of this room was. Oh, it's a bird cage. That's what the point of this room was. I made it over here. I'll take it. Yeah, so we're still getting items. I don't know if it's a bug that we're still getting stuff or what, but we are still getting items right now. Maybe a good run to send to the mod creator. I'm sure it's one of the 150 mods I have turned down that's causing a conflict here, but whatever. All right, here's our Womb 1 boss fight. Maybe we'll end up losing an item here, because right now we have, what? We have 8... We have 12 items, but one of those is the negative. Maybe you can carry 12 items as this character, but at that point, like, I don't see a reason with making it a character at all, because 12 items, that's like, you can win a run with 12 items. They don't even have to be that good. Like, we have 11 right now, and we're doing just fine, without any kind of, like, extra really big gimmick being here. So I don't really know what is happening here. I don't really know if we've bugged the character out or what's really going on here with this. Oh, you're back. Look at that heart's down here now. Okay, cool. Cool. I don't really know what's happening in this boss fight, but I'm trying to figure it out. Now the heart's dead. Fantastic. I'm guessing the limit of items, I thought it was supposed to be 6, but I might be incorrect there. We got that. We have all of our items still, so now we're officially... are we at 12 or are we one above 12? Oh, no, now we're at 11, right? 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now we're at 12 total items, but we have the negative, which puts us down to 11 in our slot. So if we are able to pick up 2 more items than this, and I think we bugged the character somehow, unintentionally. It's not my fault this time, I promise you. But, interesting. Interesting. Oh, I just lost an item. I just lost dog food. And I lost my pocket item, it looks like, too. Though that might have been gone for a while. Why did I lose an item? What did I do? Okay. Oh, maybe when you have, like, over 10, you start to slowly lose items. That could be it. But again, I feel like at a certain point in the run, like, I went through the first however many floors without really, you know, trying to play to the character's gimmick, and I ended up fine. I have gotten pretty good items, granted. I have almond milk and the pact, and I guess red candle helps a lot too. But I don't know if I necessarily, like, think the gimmick is challenging enough. I know they're getting a rework soon. This character in specific is getting reworked. I've been told in the comments, at least. So, maybe that's part of the reason why, is that the gimmick isn't very prevalent, because now we're just down an item. And that's it. Like, we haven't really lost... We lost dog food. It didn't have really a bearing on our run, I would say. If I had to give, like, a suggestion for an improvement here... I think the idea of letting your pocket item, I think you get a storage of like 6. And whenever you use your pocket item on, I would say, like a pedestal, it stores that item in the pedestal, or in the pocket item, sorry. And then you start losing items. After 6, you pick one up, you lose a random one. And then once you officially pass that 7 item barrier, from there, you just continually lose items like every, I don't know, like 5 minutes or 2 minutes, some kind of arbitrary number. And the items in your pocket item will refill your HUD. So you're kind of like always changing your build and always trying to plan for the future. It's hard to balance a thing like that though, because time limits are very hard to use, and you know, what might be good on one run could be good on, or could be bad on another run, and it could be unwinnable, you know, etc., etc. But that's kind of how Isaac is in general though, so I don't know. I'm not a mod designer, again, I'm not claiming to be, but I think this gimmick isn't really prevalent enough, especially for like a tainted character, where like tainted characters are kind of have like the gimmick of the character at the forefront. You don't really notice the gimmick until you're, you know, at least for me, I was on Womb 2 when I first saw the gimmick work, which is, you know, late game in the run, very, very late in middle. We do get a devil deal here, though, and we have a dice shard for it. I'll take this. We might die because of that, but I think I've seen enough of the character to die and then still be happy about where we are in the game, so we'll go to the negative and we'll hope that things turn out a little bit better. But I like the idea of tainted characters. I've played, you know, twisted characters, tarnished characters, and now vitiated characters, but they're always fun. If you're complaining about, like, oh, you know, tarnished better or twisted better, whatever you might say, why does that matter? I mean, they're unique mods. Oh, I'll definitely pop this. I don't get the idea of comparing the two. They're very different. Anybody can do, like, you know, do their own take on tainted characters. It's not just a one and done kind of deal. Literally anybody can do it, and I think it's fun to see other people's, you know, ideas about it. So comparing it to like tarnished characters, I think is a little bit unfair and kind of stupid. It's like comparing, you know, it's like saying Starbound and Terraria are the same game. Yes, they share the same genre, the same kind of, you know, look, but I think saying they're the same game is a bit unfair. I'm gonna die in this fight, by the way. Yeah. Wow, okay. That's a new pattern. Well, if you enjoyed the run of my commentary, liking a comment goes a long way. So far, I think the mod has some cool ideas, but I think it needs to be just executed a little bit more harshly on the player. But aside from that, I've been BD1P. Peace out, and goodbye.